Today is Star Wars Day, so I thought I would go through some of the things that I have in my collection. The first thing you'll see straight away is this art print, which is a limited edition of 250. It's called Those Droids, and it's by Barry Balsara Fine Art. So this was a birthday present, I think, a few years ago. And I like that joke with the stormtroopers trying to find the droids. They're standing there with a cheeky smile on their face. So it's a pretty cool print. Now, one of the other things I've got here is this, which is the Star Wars Trilogy box set, but this edition is on VCD, which is a pretty much dead video format, which compresses video down onto a compact disc. So it's somewhere between a VHS tape and DVD. This is actually from Indonesia. I think the VCD format was quite popular there, probably because it was cheap, but I don't actually have anything I can play this on at the moment, so it's just a nice thing to have. But you can see the artwork's quite cool on there. All the films come each in their own 2-disc box. I don't remember there really being any bonus features on these when I was able to watch them, and I think the quality isn't great. I've certainly seen people on Reddit mentioning that the compression is really heavy on this, but it's quite a cool thing to have. And these are the 97 special editions, so they've still got the good and bad things about the special editions. They're not the original versions. The next thing we've got here is the Star Wars Trilogy DVD box set. Now, this is the first edition on DVD for the Star Wars Trilogy, I believe, and this was 2004. So again, these are the special edition versions, but re-specialised, so there's even more kind of tinkering with these. And I think there are certain problems that people have with this. I think there's a general kind of blue sheen to the colour. There's problems with the surround sound mix, and I think there's a sort of artifacts appear on some of the scenes where the noise has been reduced, but it's left kind of poor resolution in some of the fine detail. For casual fans, this is a pretty good set. It's got the original trilogy and a nice package, and there are tons of special features. I mean, all the usual making of documentaries and theatrical trailers and TV spots and all that kind of stuff, but they've also got a teaser for Revenge of the Sith, so episode 3. There's a teaser for that, sort of behind the scenes mini documentary, and it also has a demo for the original Xbox for Star Wars Battlefront 2. So that would have been pretty exciting to get a chance to play that back in the day. That's one of the most fondly remembered Star Wars games, I suppose. So that was so that's the 2004 Star Wars Trilogy box set. Now, this one, I think this came out of a charity shop. I think it was a gift from my partner. Episode 1 is a bad film. There were some good parts of it, but it's typically a bad film. And I haven't read this, so I don't know what the quality of this is, but it says there it's based on the screenplay and story by George Lucas, so it probably follows the film quite closely. Kind of hoping that actually expands on things and it's maybe a better read than the actual film. Secretly, I really want this book to be the fan theory version inspired by Isaac Asimov. So basically, that version casts Jar Jar as the villain of the piece, and it's an homage to the character of the Mule in Asimov's Foundation series. So I really want... That's the book of the Phantom Menace I want to read. This is definitely not that. That book doesn't exist, but I wish it did, and I wish this was it. I also happen to have Foundation there just for a bit of reference. That's a classic sci-fi book that everyone should read. So another book you've got here is Star Wars from a Certain Point of View, and this is a compendium of short stories set in the Star Wars universe, and was conceived for the 40th anniversary of the original film, which came out in 1977. So all these stories are based on background characters from A New Hope, like some X-Wing pilots, stormtroopers, droids, and some of the other creatures from the universe. And the name of that book, you'll remember, from a certain point of view, is taken from the moment in Return of the Jedi where Luke confronts Obi-Wan for basically lying to him about what had happened to his father. So it's a kind of lovingly produced compendium of short stories for Star Wars fans. So this is a cool book, and I think maybe there's a series of these now worth checking out. Now, this is a bit of an unusual one. This is almost like a catalogue that I picked up at Guerra Stelliari, which is War of the Stars, I suppose. So Star Wars, and this was I picked this up in Genoa in Italy when we were on holiday there. There just happened to be a Star Wars toy convention on while we were there. So we went in and it just had kind of everything you could imagine that was made into toy form. So you've got all these. I mean, that's from Phantom Menace, but you've got all these different ones. I've started off at kind of the newer ones, but you've got all the old Kenner toys and various generations of these toys. It's all just beautifully photographed and put together in this sort of glossy book. So it's a really good memento from that, and probably an unusual thing that not many people have in their collection. Okay, so what else have we got? This is Patrick Gleason's Star Wars. So this is a vinyl record, and it is a reimagining of some of the score of Star Wars. And it's basically by Patrick Gleason, who is a sort of a jazz and electronic artist from the 70s. This was recorded at a different Fire studio in Seattle in 1977. And Gleason reinterprets the score using you can see there, the world's most advanced synthesizer. I can't tell you which synthesizer that is. I have no idea. But in 1977, apparently it was the world's most advanced synthesizer. So there you go. So basically what Gleason does is he reinterprets that score, and it's just a surreal mixture of electronics, classical music, rock, jazz, and disco. Imagine Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds, where some of that goes into crazy sort of disco tunes and stuff. It's a bit like that. It's not as polished. There are some pretty cool moments on it and some really atmospheric sections, but there are also very painfully naff and dated sounding sections. So it's quite cool. I mean, look, the cover is mental. I mean, that's got nothing to do with Star Wars. And then this guy in the back. So it's just a bit of an oddity, this, but quite an interesting one to have in the collection. Now, this is another vinyl record, and this is The Story of Star Wars. So what this is basically a storybook on a vinyl record. So it's a bit like a radio drama, and it takes the sound effects and music from the film, and you can actually read along on this little book here that's got stills from the movie and a little bit of an explanation. So it's a little bit like a children's storybook. And then the entire film is on one two-sided disc. Look how retro that is. So again, I think that is from 1977. And it was an early alternative to, well, put it this way, when this film came out, there weren't many options for reliving the Star Wars experience at home. So this was one of the first ways that you could take Star Wars home and enjoy it without having to go back to the cinema. So, and this is, it's a really cool package. I like the little storybook. I also love this artwork on the back, this screenshot of the escape pod over Tatooine. Now, so that's all the Star Wars stuff that I have, but I've got a few kind of Star Wars adjacent items I just want to quickly go through. And the first one is Starship Troopers. Okay, this is an ultra violent sci-fi action film, but a lot of the effects were actually done by Industrial Light and Magic, who worked on the Star Wars films, and indeed the laser tag scene in Starship Troopers in the training camp near the beginning of the film. All the lasers that are fired in that scene were done by the same guy using the same rotoscoping process that was used for the lightsabers in Star Wars. So I always like to find an excuse to talk about Starship Troopers because it's brilliant. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Okay, so the next one is Clerks, and this is the 10th anniversary DVD edition of Clerks. As I said, this is a really amazing package with all sorts of making of information. There's a huge documentary in there about the making of Kevin Smith's first film. So the reason this is there is obviously there is a pretty iconic at this point discussion on Star Wars in Clerks, and basically the two main characters, Randall and Dante, are talking about Return of the Jedi, and Randall is regaling Dante with his theory on the Death Star and how, especially on the construction of the Death Star 2, it was still under construction, so when it was destroyed, so too would all the innocent independent contractors who were working on the Death Star would have been killed too, so all these innocents. And it's just a memorable sequence in a memorable movie, and Kevin Smith peppers these sorts of Star Wars conversations all throughout his filmography, so I had to include one of his films in here. And the last one I've got for you is Spaced. So Spaced is full of Star Wars references. I mean, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost famously bonded over their love of weird droid sounds from Star Wars and doing impressions of them for each other to make them laugh. So there's going to be references peppered throughout this. There's Tim's post-traumatic stress disorder over the disappointment of The Phantom Menace. Which I really loved the novelisation that I've got. There's that brilliant dubbed up version of the Battle of the Planets by Fader Gladiator that's in one of the later episodes. There's Mike's Chewie impression. There's Tim's theory about the Death Star gunner and how he's the most important link to the entire franchise. And of course, it's the homage to the final scene of Empire, where the characters are staring out at the starfield and it's mimicked in Spaced. So just worth mentioning Spaced. It's one of my favourite shows of all time, and the people who made it share my love of Star Wars. So there we go. So that's a few of the things in my Star Wars collection. So I hope you enjoyed hearing about some of the crap that gathers dust on my shelves.